Yeah, no, yes, no, yes, no.
Yeah. We ended on the HST G65 and then we went on to this slide and ended.
Good.
What page is that?
Right. So when you go next time you go into your site office, or when you look into your site office, or you visit in a site office, you look up on the wall, you will see a health and safety policy. The health and safety policy is written by the company. Right? Any company should have their own health and safety policy, and it should be on display, and it should be visible to everyone. Right? So, and it should be on your notice board. It should be on your notice board in your cabins. It should be on the notice board in the canteen, along with your insurance, along with the organisation, along with your chart, along with the health and safety poster. It should all be there for all operatives to see, and clear, visible, not hidden at all. Right? Every worker, if you work for a company, we only got one person who's employed here, but he should be communicated that health and safety policy in some way, whether he gets it on an email, whether he gets it in an employee's handbook, whether he gets it on a display poster, whether he gets it for his site office, but it should always be there. The three main parts of it, what you need to take away from this is that it's got three main parts: the statement of intent, the organisation, and the arrangements. You will get this question time and time again, right? And it's basically, you'll go, we've had that question, and it's because we're trying to beat it into you that you've got to remember it. So you get statement of intent, organisational chart, and arrangement. So what is the statement of intent? It's what we are, our aims, our targets, how we're going to our resources, our commitment. It's signed by the most senior person in the company, right? It's his commitment to you as an individual. His commitment that the company, this is how they're going to do. This is what they're going to do, right? It's generally only one sheet of paper. Everybody know what I'm talking about or not?
Yeah, 10.
Yeah? You what, say? No. You go for F10. I'm talking about statement of intent.
Oh, sorry.
I'm talking about a statement of intent, right? Statement of intent, right? So, hang on. I'll see if I can.
If you've got a picture, please.
I'll see. I'll just let me look, and I'll see if I can bring you one up, right? So, because you've got them, believe it or not. You've seen them. And I'm just looking at. You know, 2 seconds. I'm looking in two different places here, so I've got a couple of them, and I'm just trying to find one, which is. Policy statement. Let's just try this one. Aims, the targets, the resources, the commitment. The organisation is who? It's the responsibility. Who's going to do what? Where they're going to go? I'll show you an organisational chart in a minute, and the arrangements. How? That's going to be what you're going to do, the procedures, the risk assessments, the safe systems of work, the emergency preparations. So, in simple terms, it's what we intend to achieve, who is responsible for it, and how it will be done. This is really covered in HSG 65. So, in the plan section is policy requirements. It should be written by someone within the organisation who knows the organisation best and how it operates. Obviously, it must reflect the organisation's values, beliefs and commitment and provide a health and safety environment. Of course it should. This is what it's about. It's no good me as a total outsider writing something for you and it doesn't mirror your organisation in any way, and it should be written with some collaboration with other people within the organisation. Of course it should, right? And it should cover the policy aims, you know what I mean, what you want to do, what you're trying to achieve, right? It must be signed and dated by the most senior person, right, ultimately responsible for health and safety within the organisation, right? It's got to be reviewed, right? It's got to be reviewed and updated as necessary, and signed and dated if it's altered in any way. It doesn't have to be altered. You can look at it and say, well, I've reviewed it after a year, and you say, it's great. You know, we're fantastic. You know what I mean? And it's simple as that. But, you know, generally they will change one word, they will change two words, and they will update it and say, yes, we reviewed it on a yearly basis, and that's it, everybody's happy. Right? Even if someone is self-employed, here's prick up now because you're self-employed, or employs fewer than 5 people, the law still requires them to have a health and safety policy, even if it's not written down. But going into a court and say, well, this is our health and safety policy, and he goes, yeah, what is your health and safety policy? And you recite it, you go, yeah, have you got it written down anywhere? You know what I mean? Because the judge would be looking for you to be written down something. Yeah? So, but you don't have to write it down if you employ less than 5 people, not a legal requirement, but you still have to have one. And you must manage your work in such a way to protect health and safety of themselves, those working for them, and anyone else who might be affected by their works or their acts or omissions. Organisational chart. This is just a normal organisational chart. You've got one in your XA6. It's a similar one. And if we look at site managers there in the middle, you can see us. You got people below us. You know, you got people above us: architects, contracts managers, site engineers, shareholders, managing directors, CEOs. They're all above us as such, but it's just an organisational chart. It's just showing you. It's not saying that the site managers is middle management and the labourers or the trainees are at the bottom. It's not trying to say that. It's just trying to show you where you are in the chart. So, who's the managing director is signing the policy. So he's top of the tree. Right? Shareholders, they just pump money into it, but they're still responsible. Right? A lot of people are shareholders, were directors, and get rid of their directorship, because then they can get rid of going to prison. Right? If something goes wrong, they can say, well, it's nothing to do with us. Right? It's down to the directors. So directors are to a penny, they're expendable as such. Shareholders generally got the money into the companies. But, you know, contracts manager they're not necessarily, they're generally above site managers, and you could have any other departments in between that. But it's just a sort of organisational chart to show you. In case none of you have done this, because a lot of people are doing this for the very first time. Arrangements, safe systems of work. Who is responsible for developing them? Who signs safe systems of work? Do you sign them? Do you review them yourself? Any here?
Safe system of work.
Do you review safe systems of work? Do you review RAMs when they come into you?
Yeah, well, you do those toolbox talks, isn't it?
No, Remy, Remy, you're a site manager. Do you review the RAMs when they come into you?
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you know what you're looking at?
Well, there's like safety works and whatever for any other work, you know, we have to do.
Isn't it? There's like every company's got a cover sheet of what the sub is supposed to cover, and you tick it, go something.
See, look, you work for this lovely big company, don't you? Look, see, and Remy don't work for this lovely big company, and he hasn't got this lovely big sheet, but you have now. Right? If you look in your forms and checklists, you will see you've got a RAMS checklist, and you can tick it off, right? You got now you come on this lovely CITB course, you will see you've got some lovely forms and checklists there that you can use on a daily basis, right? And you've got a RAMS checklist there, and it's basically a tick sheet. It says to you, you've covered this, you've covered that, you've covered this, you covered that. You know what I mean? And lots of companies haven't got that. When we talk, Barry, you work for a big organisation, and Remy works for a little organisation, and most of the people on these courses are like Remy, work for a small organisation.
No, sorry, I do apologise to interrupt.
No, I'm just trying to explain it to you.
Yeah.
Most of them work for a small organisation. When they do that, right, it's they got very little resources. And I think when on the organisation that I was working for at the time, when we brought in our first health and safety advisor, he cost us 45 grand in the first year, and he was only there 1 day a week. 45 grand in the first year, and he was only me. So, what would you cover in permits to work? Anyone?
So you got different ones. You got hot work permits, excavation, digging, penetration of ground.
Yeah. So we got working at height, permits to dig,
ladder
hot works
permits,
permit, anything that's out of the norm, anything that's dangerous. Risk assessments. Do any of you guys do risk assessments?
So just quickly on permits to work, who actually issues them?
site managers.
You will authorise them. You're the authoriser. Someone will review the requester. You will open and close it.
So, for instance, a contractor will make the request, and then
depending on what you're doing, if you're talking about, say, like you've got someone, say a plumber wants to do some hot works,
right?
He would come up to you and say, "Can I have a hot work permit, please, mate?" Because that's how they generally talk like that. And yeah, certainly. And then you'll pull one out of your spotting system. You will ask his name or get him to fill in his details,
right,
and where he's working.
Yeah.
You will then authorise it, open it, and close it with the duration of the job, whatever he's doing. You would tell him it shuts at a certain time because you've got a cool-down permit with a hot work, right? And you would sign it, open it, pin it to the board, or put it in some sort of filing system that can't be altered or checked. And then at the end of the day or whenever the permit closes, you will then shut it back up.
So the stuff I normally see on the notice board, sometimes it's even outside around the canteen area. Like this week we'll have hot works, we'll have blah blah blah, works at heights and things like that. Those are the permits, are they?
And that's the site.
That's what permits to works are. Yeah, permits to work. There's loads of ways that they're done. There's loads of, but generally they're pinned up on in the site office, and they're at only one place, right? And that's where they're monitored and responsible. Or you might have a permits to work office. In my last job, we had a permit to work office.
We do it differently, Frank. Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, that's fine.
How we do it is he comes up. So he said, "Plumber, hot work permit." He comes up to the office. He fills out the paperwork. Then we'll give him a time. It depends on how many people. We meet him in his workstation. We'll make sure he's got 2 fire, drill, whatever the work. His workstation is fine. You sign it there. He takes a picture. We'll bring it back. We'll put it in the open permit.
Yeah.
And then when he signs it off, we go there. We'll go look at it. But because what happens in our site, we will not close.
You're the one that's allowing the work to go on, unless you've actually got a temporary works coordinator, right? And that could possibly be one of your questions in the exam. Temporary works coordinators, right? They authorise permanent works as well, right? So just so you're aware, there is other people that actually got designated jobs to do this, right?
And is it your duty then to monitor them?
You what? Sorry.
So is it
tractor selection and management is another thing. It's also, that's something we'd like an input in. Sometimes we do get input in. Sometimes we get contractor reviews. It's about working. I've been on a job and I've had every shit contractor ever imagined we've ever employed on the one job. And sometimes it happens. Sometimes that's the way it goes. It is long, you know. Emergency procedures, obviously, fire, flood, explosion, things like that, drills, who's responsible for them, the roll call, firefighting. Do you have fire drills on the site, Sean, at the moment?
Yeah.
Yeah, how often?
Once a week.
Once a week? What, a
No,
drill?
no, we do it once a
On
month.
Monday.
A drill?
It's not a drill. The fire alarm just goes off and
Right, okay.
ignoring.
So you get off your ass and you go out to the car park, do you? No.
No, it literally goes off for 30 seconds. You wait for it to stop and then you carry on, mate.
Yeah, that's not a drill.
That's a test.
That's testing your alarm. Right, so
Actually,
let's just make sure your alarm works.
It's every 12 weeks, I think, or something.
Yeah, well, okay, it could be 6 monthly, you know what I mean, a drill, full drill, something like that, you know, but it's all part and parcel, and it's something you do. It's one of the things, right, you sound yours on a weekly, right, okay, that's good, and because you've obviously got repeater panels, and everyone can hear them around the site, and that's really good, but you generally find, when you do set off that alarm, no one responds. That's the sad thing. Right.
So there is no law of exactly when it should be done. It's just
No. I mean, in
every
the real terms, when there's actually an alarm going off, you'll find that no one responds to it. That's the problem.
I got that, but the question I was just wondering, isn't it by law that isn't there like any rules or laws that just say a site has to have a fire drill after this duration of time, or
Right.
it's just your personal decision?
James, I've got to pull you in the line, right? It's the end of the day. It's what you're trying to do is learn all the course out of sequence. We've got a whole section on fire, right? We've got a whole section on fire, and I'll teach you fire when we get to fire. What I can only do is I need to cover what we're doing at the moment. I can't spend too much time on permanent works because you're losing out on at the moment we're on slide 45 of 88 and you should have done 88 yesterday. Right. And every time we stop it takes a little bit away from us. You need to get this information in. Some of them are lucky and got it, but yes, there is designated times, but we'll cover it in fire later on in the course. So try not to learn too much too quickly, right? It's good you ask questions, but you've got to let us progress on. Right? Welfare facilities, obviously, visitor control, environmental controls, all part and parcel of what we were talking about in the first place. Because I'm losing track as well, right? It's about our arrangements, how we get it, our safe systems of work, our risk assessments, our procedures. So that's all we're trying to cover there with that last slide there. We're trying to cover, this is our procedures, what we're going to do as a company, what we're going to have in place. And we have to have all that in place, right? As a company, legally, right? So it's arrangements for cost. You've got cost registers on site?
Yeah.
Yeah, good. Yeah, that's one thing that doesn't happen a lot of, because even hand soap requires cosh. Even hand soap, because some people are allergic to it. Some people are allergic to the ingredients. It's like nuts, you know, the old nuts in the sandwiches. Some people are allergic to certain things that other people aren't, and it's potentially life threatening. So hence that's why we keep cost registers. When they guys come to you on site, remember, I'm trying to get you're going to a point where if someone's coming to work for you and they're bringing the plumber, for instance, I'll pick the plumber because he's a nice easy one I haven't got in there, right? He should have definitely a cost sheet for glue, mastic, flux, cutting compound, just his gases, compressed gas, just all the kinds of things. He should have a cost sheet of his own, of at least 10, 15 items, and that's what you never see as a site manager, because he should be saying, we're coming on here with this, or the bricklayer, he would be saying he'd be using cement, sand, lime, plasticizer, so on and so on, brick acid to clean down. They're the kinds of things that he will be bringing to the site to say that what he's been using, it will be in his RAMs. So that's what each guy should bring to their site when they bring the RAMs. They should be bringing their cost details as well. And then that gets updated into your cost register, right? Which is where a lot of the companies fall down. Right, anything you do, have you ever heard of the SMART principle? Right? Have you anybody ever heard of the SMART principle?
Yes.
Yes, good. Right, so it's obviously should be specific to the outcome and the results required. It should be measurable. Right, you can quantify an outcome. It should be achievable. Right, that the end goal can be reached, as in like we will finish it at then. Right, it should be reasonable. It should be realistic. Is you can't put something like we're going to have 0 accidents on site. Right? You've got to use some principles, smart principles they love. Right? CIGB love them. All health and safety love them. Right? They try and make sure everything is smart. And the time bound, there must be a date for review. When you look at risk assessments, there has to be a date for review. The target has to be achievable. Right? So this is when we do anything, when we go back to this, go back to this, or if you like, go back to that, the plan, do, check, act, right? We start with the plan and the policy, what we want to achieve, how we're going to do it, how we're going to arrange it, right? These are the people who's going to do it for us. These are the systems we're going to have in place, right? And this is what it's going to be. It's going to be smart. It's all going to be achievable. And that's getting to the end of that. Risk assessment. You want to take a photograph of that baby, right? It's very hard to find in your books, but it is there, right? Take a photograph of that, snip it, screenshot it, whatever you want to do, right? It's worth doing, right? Why? Because these are the 5 stages of risk assessment. Identify the hazards. Identify who might be harmed and how. Evaluate the risks and decide on the precautions. Record your significant findings and implement them. Review. Regular review of risk assessment and update it as necessary. We work in a very dynamic industry. We got a thing, has anybody heard of dynamic risk assessments? Yeah, anyone? Yeah? No? Yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, yes, no?
Heard of, but I know not that.
Right, but dynamic risk assessment is a simple risk assessment. Construction really should have a dynamic risk assessment printed up, ready for them on the board. And the reason I say that is because we are a dynamic industry. If someone needs to do something quick, you can do the dynamic risk assessment really quickly, fill it in, tick all the boxes, fill in whatever precautions need to be done, fill in anything you need to do, control measures for it, and sign it and date it. And that's it, finished, and review it. And it'll be an open one. When you've got a jobber, when you've got the plumber, he will carry a book of dynamic risk assessment. When you've got an electrician, they carry a book of dynamic risk assessments. Why? Because they're going to little jobs quickly. And it's a legal requirement that you conduct a risk assessment before every job. Yeah? It is a legal requirement. The Management of Health and Safety Work Regulations 1999, Regulation 3, that before you carry out any work, if you have fewer than 5 employees, you don't have to write anything down. Fewer than 5 employees, you don't have to write anything down, but you must conduct a risk assessment. So,
Frank,
yes.
Frank, who is creating risk assessment?
You what, sorry?
Who is bringing the book of risk assessment in general?
Right,
Because I had an issue.
If you look in your forms and checklists, right, and if you look in your email, you got given a risk assessment.
No, it depends when you're starting the job. You know, you have to get the list. Yeah.
Right. When you start the job, I don't. Right. If you're a developer, right, you've got a build. Let's say a build. You're starting there. There's no risk assessment as such, is it? for that. Right? You will have a scent plan for it. Right? So you'll have a scent plan for it, which is how you're going to do the job. You're then going to call in a fencer. Let's say he's going to fence it off here. So he will bring in RAMs, risk assessments, method statements, and what he's going to do. Right? The next person you're going to bring in possibly is the cabins, get them situated and placed, or you're going to bring in the ground worker and you're going to bring in some road into here and up to your compound. Right? So he's going to bring in RAMs. So he's doing all that. As a developer, as a PC, a principal contractor, because if you don't know this term yet, you, as site managers, you're generally the PC, right? As PC, which means you're the top contractor, if you like. So that's what it means by principal contractor. You're the top contractor. You review their risk assessments and method statements. If you're talking about a dynamic risk assessment, if you're saying who brings that, you can have one on site. It's just a simple blank risk assessment.
The point is, like, when we started the job, it's like in the office, no one knew where to get that risk assessment and who is gonna do it. So there was a big confusion, like where and how. So I found out that the other companies, they just ordering some other company who is doing for them, and just at the end you pay them and they're bringing
right. They shouldn't be doing a risk assessment at all. Your company, as such, when you start a job, you shouldn't be doing a risk assessment at all. It should be a scent plan. Yeah? It should be a scent plan. Right, so.
Okay. That's what I'm saying, like with the small companies, there is a big problem.
Hang on 2 seconds. 2 seconds. I'm going to share with you one. That's just a quick dynamic risk assessment that a jobber will do when they go around to somewhere. Right? And then looking at what the hazards are, what the potential hazards are, if they need to put in any control hazards, so they've got the hazards box down there, other risks, the control measures, and then they accept it and they sign it, and that basically allows them to get on with the job. Yeah? Quick one, that is just a nice little quick dynamic one, and that's what you would get as a sort of plumber or a little jobber doing something somewhere else, right? So, back to risk assessment, because you're going to be doing one in a minute. I need to get rid of you because you're doing me head in. Right. So risk assessment, you need to identify. So what do we know is hazards? Do we know what hazards are? Give me some hazards.
Something potential to cause harm.
Oh, you look at that! I moved the wheel, didn't I? Quick, I moved it too quick, didn't I?
I haven't even seen that, mate.
Oh, right, okay. He stood there looking at the screen. He must be looking at porn then, isn't he? Right,
no, I started
something with the potential to cause harm, right? I moved my wheel too quick. As you say, I shot me bolt and give it to you before I was. Right, so something with the potential to cause harm. Now, if you looked at that dynamic risk assessment, it gave you certain things on there, didn't it? Right, and it all had the potential to cause harm. So, what do you think? Give me. I'm going to go round robin. So, Sam, give me one. A hazard, please, mate. Give me a hazard. Come on, Sam.
He's muted.
Sorry, trip hazard.
It's not a hazard, is it?
Well, trip hazard.
It's not a hazard,
Cables.
is it?
Low running cables, which would then be a trip hazard.
Is it? Not hazard, not hazard, right? Come on, Oz, give me a hazard.
It's hard to think about it now. I think it's like a fracture roof.
James, give me a hazard.
Fire.
Fire, that's a hazard, yeah. Vlad, give me a hazard.
Hi.
Right, yeah. Bala, give me a hazard.
Somebody using a grinder.
Yeah. Injury?
Wet floor, Frank.
Some kind of injury?
Right. So anyway, but yeah, go on. Andrew.
Wet floor.
Have you given me wet floor, was that?
Yeah.
Right, Remy.
The holes in the floor.
Yeah. Val.
kabel.
Damage cable.
Cable.
It's not a hazard, isn't it? It's not a hazard. If you just send electricity in the cable,
Yes.
Risk.
right? What about electricity in the cable? No, I'd have that one, right? Claude,
Hazard.
what you say?
Noise.
Noise, yeah, noise, good, yeah,
Oh,
good,
yeah.
good. That's probably one of the better ones I've had so far. So
Vib-
noise is good. Electricity,
Vibration.
which I gave you, is good, right?
Vibration.
Nudge. I know which one. No, I know another one.
What about visibility?
Huh?
What about visibility?
Oh, I'm really disappointed, Nudge. I thought you were going to go with something different. I really thought you were
Hold
going to go
on,
with something different.
just say we're doing groundworks, yeah? Just say the ground.
Can't see. Snow's probably the most dangerous one that I don't like on site. And the reason I don't like it is because it can be laid straight over a piece of board that someone's thrown down, a piece of plasterboard, over a hole. And that hole could be very, very deep. And no barriers up there because the groundworks, the barriers are moving somewhere else. And it snowed. You know what I mean? And effectively, you're going to go for a long drop. Right? And it's as easy as that. And that's why I don't. Snow's probably the scariest to me on a site because you can't see what we're doing. And generally, when we get snow, we don't do a lot anyway. So, but that's the sort of things we're looking at. So, hazards is something with the potential to cause harm. A risk is when you place a bet on something. You'd be like, I'm going to cross the road here, although the traffic's busy, but I'm going to control that risk. I'm going to do my risk assessment. I'm going to press the button on the zebra crossing and wait for it to go beep, 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 and then I'm going to walk across. And hopefully everyone would stop at the red light and let me go across.
And what about falling objects as well? Did we cover that?
Yeah, falling objects. Yeah, there's lots of hazards. There's lots of hazards, obviously, lots and lots of hazards. Right, so you can't mention them all, but it's good that you're working together to try and get them. All right. So when you do a risk assessment, it has to be suitable and sufficient. Suitable and sufficient. All right. You've got your risk assessment forms. Open them up at the moment. Let's make sure you can open them up. All right. I will say to you, there is a glitch on them. There is a glitch on them. And once you get down to a certain point, it starts to self-fill on its own. Right? So it does do that. I can't alter the form in any way. I can't change its format in any way. It starts to self-fill, but you can override it. I have managed to override it myself. It can be done. You can do it. Right? So, but you will be doing a risk assessment in a minute. So it has to be suitable and sufficient. You've got to identify the significant risks. Ignore the trivial ones. Right, so when you do this risk assessment, don't talk about flooding, right? Because it's trivia, and we're not going to get, no one's going to get hurt by flooding in this, right? But there are other hazards there for you to pick, right? Evaluate the risk, decide on the precautions, right? Pick the right sections. It has to be good, right? You will be conducting a risk assessment here as a group. Right? So at the end of it, you need to fill it in correctly. I'm going to give you 30 minutes on the risk assessment. And I want you to complete it. Right? Again, I mentioned to you about Eric PD. You've got a question on it earlier. Right? E, the eliminate. R, remove or substitute. And I think that was the two that you had to answer in the exam, E and the R. And you can see where the rest of it comes from: isolate, control measures, PPE, and discipline. The discipline.
Sorry, no, after the risk assessment, sorry?
Steps to risk assessment. It's there anyway. It was insane.
Study, what was the scenario? What are we assessing?
No, don't worry. You're jumping the gun, jumping the gun.
Sorry.
Gun and the jumper. Let's get down to that. Right, so that's the risk assessment. I will start the risk assessment in a minute. I'm going to put you into two groups. So I'll put you into some of the health and safety require. If you look at this, this is actually a risk assessment template from the health and safety executive. This is the minimum. You can see how simple it is. Risk assessments do not have to be complicated. This is just a question of filling in the boxes, who recorded it, what they've done, how they carried it out. It is the most simplest template you can get. Everyone, if you see risk assessments, you come in, when you've got the groundwork, so there's a couple of groundwork guys here, there's a large A4 ring binder completely full of risk assessments. It doesn't have to be that complicated. It can be one page. One page is enough, you know what I mean? For what the job you're doing at the time, right, obviously, but one page is sufficient. Right, so just get rid of that one. So just want to clear some of my desk up. Get rid of that. So that's the smallest sort of risk assessment we can do. Do that, done that. Well, now on to CDM, which is the next set of regulations. This is what you guys talk about all the time, but is nowhere near as important as the health and safety work act, right? Because obviously that controls it all. So if you listen to this video, you have got access to this later on. If you listen to this video, watch the video, right? It gives you 2 or 3 examples
on all construction projects and define responsibilities according to particular roles. The main roles are client, designers, contractors. And where there's more than one contractor, there are additional roles of principal designer and principal contractor. On large projects, the client is responsible for making sure the principal designer and principal contractor carry out their duties. The principal designer ensures that health and safety is considered during the planning phase of a project, including identifying, eliminating or minimizing foreseeable health and safety risks. On small domestic projects, including home improvements, the client's responsibilities are normally transferred to the contractor, without the client really needing to know much about it. Construction phase plans. Under the new regulations, all construction work must have a construction phase plan drawn up before work starts. The plan should reflect the project's size and nature of risk, so simple jobs only need a simple plan. All contractors must ensure their workers have the right skills, knowledge, training and experience to do their job, and provide appropriate levels of information, instruction and supervision. If you are the principal contractors, you must also provide a site induction for all workers, secure the site, and provide welfare facilities from the start of the job. More information, including the industry guidance for each duty holder and a free CDM app to help prepare construction phase plans for small projects, are available to download at citb.co.uk/CDMregs.
Some CDM. It's about coordination and communication. It's about sharing what we know with one another. This is one of the things. Right, so CDM. Here we go. I'm going to start sharing you some slides now. Right, CDM. See that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Right, good. Right, so we've got certain people. We're going to call them. I'm going to start using the abbreviations for them. So we've got principal designer. You see next to his name it says client's friend. Right, we've got principal contractor. We've got contractor. We've got notification form F10. I think it was Hala mentioned it earlier, the F10, so if you're not aware of it. Pre-construction information, construction phase plan, and health and safety file. Right, so if you look at the bottom ones, health and safety file, construction phase plan, and pre-construction information are all available in your checklist and forms. Right, all available. The F10 is now a digital format, and you do it on the HSE website. There's certain requirements that cause it to become notifiable. Does anybody know them? Anyone know?
So, if the job... Say that again, Frank?
Does anybody know the requirements when a job becomes notifiable?
If there's more than a certain amount of time and a certain amount of people working on it.
Yeah, come on, you
Is
should.
it 200 working hours or 5 people?
Yeah, 5 people
Right, so yeah, but it's you are sort of getting there, but you will not be questioned on this anyway. You don't need to know this for the exam, so you don't need to make a note of it. But on your CSCS test, you will be, right? So all projects, this is from the Citb, all projects must have a written construction phase plan. That's all projects, whether they're notifiable or not. Right? Whether they're notifiable or not. Right? You've got to have workers with the right competency. Let's put it that way. Skills, knowledge, training, experience. Supervision, instruction and training. Information, communication is key on this. Right? Secondly, there's more than one contractor. That triggers PC, principal contractor. So if you were doing a renovation on a house for someone and you employed and you were the only contractor there, you were doing all the work and you needed a sparky, you would then employ the sparky, you then become PC because you're the principal contractor. That's the easiest way of explaining it. They are then the principal contractor and the sparky is the contractor. Does everybody get that?
Yes.
Yeah, because that's the bit that confuses most guys, right? So PC is the umbrella, that's the big one. He's the one in charge of all the other contractors. So when I'm going to go for the one individual house, let's say you're going to do this one individual house, come and you've got to do a bit of plastering, because generally I'll get a lot of these just like small little jobbing builders. Right, you're going to do some plastering on there, a bit of brickwork. You'll do all that yourself, but I need a sparky or a plumber. And once you employ someone else, you then become PC. Even if the job's not notifiable, you become PC. So you've got extra duties, right? Back to the slides. Just need to get that off so I can see it.
Doesn't apply on domestics.
It doesn't. I don't really want to mention domestics too much because it does. I will mention it, but it's domestic throws everything out, right? And it throws everything out for you guys as well. So I don't want to mention domestics too much because, as I say, it does throw it out a little bit for you. So we'll try not to mention it, right? So with that over here, more than one contractor, we get a PC, right? And the pre-C. We could also get a principal designer. Now, we only get a principal designer when it's notifiable, right? And then we have to produce a health and safety plan. So 1, 2, and now we come to the third bit. It's notifiable if it lasts longer than 30 days and have more than 20 workers simultaneously, all right? More than 20 workers simultaneously at any point in the project or exceeds 500 person days. Right, it then becomes notifiable. So if it's going to last a month and 1 day, it's notifiable. If it's got more than 20 workers on it, or it's going to last 500 person days. Now the person days, if you do it in 2 shifts, so it's day and night, that's 2 days. One day, 1 night. Yeah, so that's 2 shifts. Right, so you say when you're working, because a lot of people do shop fitting. So if you're working a night shift, day doesn't actually mean a day. Right, so if you've got 2 shifts, that's two lots of activities. So you've got 1 in the day, 1 in the night. Right? So, but people will fiddle it and say, well, that's only 1 day. 1 day is 24 hours. If you Google day, it says 24 hours on Google. So we'll get away with it that way. And they try and fill it. And it's only an F10 form. It's only fill it in. But what it does, when you fill in the F10 form, it is £1,000 fine if you don't have it on display. right? And the F10 form triggers a notification to HSE to say you are there. That's what it's about. That's what's happening. And it also triggers another notification for every agency in the world to ring you up. Right? Do you want the labour? Do you want the labour? How do you know I'm even there? How do you know I'm there? How did you even find my number? I don't know how they do it, but they must have access to the F10 notifications, because as soon as you make that notification, because on that F10 it gives you the phone number, they all know your number, and everybody rings you up, and it drives you absolutely insane. So it has to that all construction projects, no matter whether they're notifiable or not, construction phase plan. More than one contractor triggers extra duties for a principal designer and principal contractor. Health and safety flaw. If it lasts longer than 30 days, have more than 20 workers or simultaneously at one point in the project, or exceeds 500 person days, it then becomes notifiable.
So if it hits one of the numbers, for instance, longer than 30, but the 20 is probably only 10 workers.
If it lasts 31 days,
yeah,
right.
Then if it's under 20, let's say 5 workers.
5 workers, yeah, right. 20 workers working simultaneous, but if it lasts longer than 30 days. So let's say you had 5 workers working on there for 3 months.
Right.
Right? 5 workers working on there for 3 months. You've passed the 500 days. So you've passed 1, you've passed 2, it's notifiable.
Okay.
Right? So you say you passed 2 of them, because
yeah.
you've gone the 500 person days, so 5 people, 5 days a week, that's 25, right?
Yeah.
It's 25 for a week, or it's easy to get over that limit. You with me?
Yes.
Even on the small amount what you said, so sooner or later, a lot of times you can get away with not notifying. It's only it costs you nothing. You just fill it in. You fill it in. It costs you nothing. You're notifiable. That's it. You don't have to load any extra paperwork with it. All you then have to do is print your certificate and pop it up on your site office.
Yeah.
Not a major issue.
Yeah.
Why people avoid it, I don't know. It's probably because they want the agencies ringing them up. I don't know. Right, F10 notification. What's on it? The date, the address, the size of the project, how many people is going to be working on it, brief description of what you're going to be doing, contact details of the client, principal designer, principal contractor, any of them, right? Date, plan start, and how long it's going to last for, duration, cost, I don't know if cost is actually on there, I can't remember, but maximum numbers, anyone who's already been appointed, so if they're there, and you used to be able to download a nice form and then I could show you it, and now they don't do that. Hang on, let me just stop sharing a second, see if I've got an F10 here, an old F10. The only problem with it is then just make sure my number's not on there so you can see me and messaging me. 43 hours is 8 mason heads. We're always making people aware of their duties and what they need to do, because they have got duties. They've got massive duties, right? Domestic clients. This is the one that you would normally see under CDM regulation. A domestic client is someone who has construction work done on their own house or home of a family member, which is not done in connection with a business. Right? So that's when they become domestic clients. If you're working for a domestic client, right, that generally the client's duties, domestic clients not required to carry out duties placed on them, like in the commercial clients, Regulation 4, and that will generally move across and move over to the principal contractor. CDM can be very complicated. Don't tie yourself up with it. So you guys mainly talk about CDM. No, within most construction down here, all we ever mention is CDM, and it's it doesn't mean that much. You know what I mean? It doesn't mean that much to us. More importantly, is the management regs and the health and safety work regulations is more important than all of them. And CDM just covers bits of both of them and brings it all into one. Right. So commercial clients. Commercial client is any individual organisation that carries out work on a construction project as part of a business. Commercial clients have crucial influence over projects and how they run, including the management of health and safety and safety risks as we go. They have to allow sufficient time and resources for each stage of the project. They have to make sure the principal designer and principal contractor appointed carry out their duties and make sure the client is aware of their duties as well. Right? So it's all about duties and about what they do. So one of the major duties of a client, what do they have to get across?
The file, the health and safety file.
No, that goes to them at the end.
Oh no, sorry, the pre-construction information. That's the one I'm looking for, right? So pre-construction information. Why? Because it's their piece of land, right? They know exactly what they've done on that piece of land, right? They know exactly what's been happening on that piece of land, what it was used for in the previous history, because it might have been used for farmland. What have we got risks of when we're using it for farmland? Marshland.
Anthrax, tetanus.
Yeah.
Hep possibly as well. From bodily fluids and waste. So I don't think HEP's just solely for humans. I think it's probably in animals as well. Rabies, things like that. Anything like that. Anything animal diseases that they carry. Whale's disease, because wherever there's cattle, there's rats. Right. So there's lots of things that happens. Also, wherever we got cattle, we've got
methane.
Yeah, there's another one. Yeah, we've probably also got endangered species like newts. We've probably got slow worms. We've probably got badgers. Badgers carry rabies, don't they? So badgers also carry TB. Right, so there's lots of things that come along with it, and also badgers are protected. There could be birds on there. There could be the grey crested silver sparrow. I don't do birds, but you know what I mean. But it could be any type of bird. Bats. Bats are a big one at the moment because we're all the construction we're doing. Right, if you notice that you probably don't come across this too much because being in London. Any construction we do down here, we've now turned around and said, right, we're not putting up outside lights, we're not putting in street lights because of the bats. And all that is the way of the contractor getting out and putting up the street lights. It's fucking criminal, isn't it? Right? But it's a way of them making more money and doing less work. You know what I mean? And it's criminal when they're saying, oh no, we won't put any lights up. Well, you just made it totally vulnerable for everyone, really dark. No one can move around. And they do little hedgehog holes in fencing to allow the hedgehogs to wander through people's gardens. It's all part of the scent nowadays, but it's all what we have to do. We have to look after the environment. The environment's playing a big, big part. So we've got lots of duties and lots of things we have to do. Pre-construction information comes across. What's a designer? Right? Because you might be a little bit surprised about this. You can read it if you like. But it's, right? The definition extends to anyone who prepares drawings, specifies design details, analysis, calculations, or prepares specific bills of quantities. Voila, designer. Aren't you?
No.
You are?
I can be designer as well.
You tell me in there where you're not one of them. Tell me which one you're not. Tell me when you're not a designer. Right? Tell me. You are. I've just made you a designer, mate. 100%. Under CDM, you become a designer. Anyone who prepares drawings, you're a designer. I'm going to pick on someone else. Let me pick Ed. you say, oh, we can't do this way, we need to do that way. Do you not? And as soon as you do that, you become a designer, right? 100%. Because this is what you do all the time. Nodge, you do it as well, don't you? You say, can't do it this way, need to alter the road, bend it this way, we'll do this, we'll load the point that way, whatever we do. You now become designers on the CDM, right? It puts specific duties on you. And when you put specific duties on you, what do we have to consider when we do any design work?
Back to the RAMs again and all of that.
Huh?
Do we talk about the risk assessment and all of that again?
But it's about when we design things, we have to look at the principles of prevention. You know what I mentioned to you earlier, the principles of prevention?
Avoid it.
Because, but when we design things, we have to make sure there's no harm coming to anyone, right? We have to make sure that what we design, it's like we could move something from A to B, and we say, right, we can't put it there because it's in our way, so we'll move that from the left-hand side to the right-hand side, right? And it could be as simple as a door at the top of the stairway, right? So we could do it opening out instead of opening in. Now, the first time it gets used and it opens out and it knocks someone down the flight of stairs, then put that hazard straight in there. And we are liable for it because we designed it that way. So we have to look at the principle of prevention when we do anything, right? And designers are civil engineers, structural engineers, building services engineers, temporary work designers, interior fit-out designers, clients who specify things, design and construction contractors, electricians, sparkies. How often do you see the plumber come in and say, we can't do that toilet that way, mate? Sooner way, waste went through, we want to do basin, we've got to spin them around. Right? They do it all the time. Can't do that. Why would we put the light switch behind the door? They've got to go in and shut the door and turn the light on. It don't work. So they move things. They become designers. But when they move it and it puts it in harm's way, like you put the light switch above the sink, right, and you can touch the sink, you can touch the light switch while your hand's in the sink, you've then created it. So you've got to look at the principles of prevention all the time. When you design things, right, this is what we do. Anybody know what the principal designer does?
It's called a structural
pre-checks, like the initial start-up, so we'll plan and implement all the safety measures prior to construction starting and things like that. It's only when you're on site that you become a normal designer, in essence, if you will.
You just said 2 minutes of conversation and not telling me anything, right? So, but yeah, I'll have that. But go on, what was she saying, Lodge? Can't hear you. And you've said 2 minutes.
You're on mute, not.
Oh yeah, sorry, yeah. Structural engineering drawings like that, or
anybody else?
Construction file.
Well, I'd suggest starting with the client himself, like when he acquires the land. Then
what's he saying there? What's his real name?
Client's friend.
Yeah. What does he? See, like Oz knows. Oz knows what it is. What does he do, Oz? Come on.
Next slider. Then I can tell you.
Yeah. Come on. Oh, no, that's the general principles of prevention. I should have given you that one a minute ago. Right. So, what does the principal designer do? Huh? Come on. You can be a principal designer. I can be a principal designer. Anybody can be a principal designer. What they do, right? They are known as the client's best friend. And you're waiting for the next slide. I'm going to give you a principal designer. Right? He is, or what he does in his basic format, is he turns around and he says, "Oh, I love that drawing. I really love that drawing. How do you clean the windows up there then? You know when you do the shard or the gherkin, right? You look at it, he says, what a lovely, and they've got a little scale model there, and he sits and he says, how do you clean the windows at the top? And they said, well, I don't know, what do you suggest? Well, I can't suggest nothing. That's not my job. That's down to you guys. Right? All he just says is he asks that silly question, right? So that's one of the things he does. He also gathers all the pre-construction information, collates it, and sends it on
The principal contract.
to the principal contractors who are going to bid for the work. so they are aware of what is entailing with the job. So he's there. He is also, right, if you look at the bottom of that list, his duty is to produce the health and safety file. Who produces the health and safety file on your jobs?
Us?
Yeah.
Ourselves.
Yeah, PC.
Yeah, principal contract.
Yeah, they always do, right? Because he can discharge his duties. If he says, what he does, he says, well, you're doing the job and you're fitting this equipment and you're doing this, that, and the other, and you're on site all the time. So you know exactly what's happening. Wouldn't it be better if you done it? And they go, oh, yeah, we might as well do it because we got it all. We're getting all the information. Otherwise, you've got to share it all with him, and then he's got to collate it into a file. So he then discharges his duty and he gives it to PC to collate, and they fall for it every single time, right? Because you could actually go to, no, actually, I think it's best if you do it. You know more about it than I do, and but they don't, and they always do take it on. They collate it all into a file and hand it over at the end, and they give it to the client. Right? When we're coming on to that, because you've now brought me into it, what does the health and safety file contain?
Information that the client may need going forward.
Underground services?
Huh?
Underground services?
Yes. There's two words that you could use just to cover it all in one hit, if you like.
Hazard prevention.
No, you can't put no. Right, you did it. It was on your risk assessments that you've done a minute ago, but it's the residual risk. What you can eliminate. So what you can't eliminate. What you've left, if you like. So let's say you builded. That's a nice word. Builded. Let's say you built one of the walls in, I don't know, paper, glass, whatever. You know, let's say one of them was built in glass, or let's say you put an air conditioning unit at 4 stories in the air, bolted to the side of the building. That's a residual risk that you've left there, because how did you get it up there? You might have had to use a crane to get it up there. That's a residual risk. So you would have to say the crane needs a site here to lift that up, and we've had to have a cherry picker there to actually bolt it, because you can't get anything close enough for it round there because it's in between 2 buildings. You with me? So that's what it is. It's a residual risk. The building might have been a commercial building, and you might use asbestos to line the walls, right, to prevent the boiler house from spreading the fire out to other parts of the building. You know, as in fire containment. That's a real extreme one I'm using there. But you might have used something like that, or you might have buried services on a crossover lodge when you're on the main entrance coming in, and it's HV and it's not low enough. Wiring it low enough, because you can't do it low enough because it's drop curbs, right? And you've contained it, you've controlled it by reinforcing it with concrete and mesh, but it's still below that level, right? And you can't drop it anymore because it's between 2 points. You know what I mean? But that's the sort of thing you would leave on there. This is what the health and safety as fitted drawings, right? So as you've done things, how you fitted it, how you changed the iron, what you've done, where you run the water mains, where you run the electricity mains, where you run the telecoms. This is what's going to be in the health and safety file. You would think it's all about health and safety. It's not, right? The site health and safety file is totally different. This is the health and safety file that hands over. This is about maintaining the building. This is about how the building was built. This is about what was possibly there in the first place. You know, it might have been built on contaminated land. If any of you looked at them site drawings, I think you've got site drawing 2, which hasn't got the land contamination on it. But if you look at site drawing 1, it's got contamination on it. I think for some reason you sent out site drawing 2 to you lot. But you know, so that's what the principal designer's job is to do, and it generally ends up with the principal contractor doing it. Principal contractor, what is he down to do? don't say plan manager monitor. Because everybody likes to say plan manager monitor. You're losing it, ain't you? Come on. I've got to wake you all up. Get you up. You're going again. You're all just, it's Sunday afternoon. It's 2:45 and you're all starting to fall asleep on me. Come on.
I thought it was.
No. We're letting another guys to step up in.
Come on, step up. You're all started going. You're all starting to wean. How many of you was out late last night?
Working night shifts.
Was you?
No.
Well, unlucky. Mate. Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, I had mates come round, so yeah, stayed up late.
Yeah. Yeah, but I know it's Sunday and you're back to work now, and I appreciate that and I understand that, and it's very hard going, but it's not long. You will get there in the end. You know what I mean? We just need to move on and just take this in, because you're going to have an exercise in this in a minute, and hopefully I can get it out of the way and we can get you an exercise done and we can get you going on to something else, right? And I don't know if did you do the exercise with me last time, Oz?
I don't think so. It's something new.
Yeah.
Something interesting.
I know. Right, so anyway, and obviously that gives whoever's in his team has got the advantage because he's done it before, right? So principal contractor, right? So when the principal contractor's appointed, they're supposed to plan, manage, and monitor and coordinate the works for the entire construction phase. Start to finish, right? Don't worry, don't really need to make notes of it too much, you know what I mean? But yeah, that's what they do. I'll show you actually on the website. There are actually these lovely little books that you can download. These come under the extra material stuff, right? And these give a list of everything. So if you've got when you got someone saying, "Oh, that ain't my job," you can actually go to these and say, "Actually, it is your job," because there it is. Right, and it is in these lovely little books, and they're really, really easy to get, and they come on your extra additional material, but they are there, and they are worth downloading sometimes, you know what I mean, especially if you've got difficult clients or difficult contractors, because contractors don't always know what they're supposed to be doing either. Right, see, so as a contractor, you're down to manage and coordinate. Yeah, you're supposed to plan the work, do the programs of works, right? This is what we do. This is what we do as PCs. We give in site inductions. We've got to secure the site. We've got to provide welfare facilities and make sure they're clean and kept up to date. Adequate training, supervision, monitoring, inspections. You know, it's all things we have to do. We have to make check after check after check and do the paper trail so it covers our back. If we do the paper trail, it's okay. Follow the construction phase plan. Follow the SEM. Apply the general principles of prevention always. Don't cut corners. Follow the route. And as I say, I was laughing and joking with you yesterday, but I've always done everything by the book. It is the easiest way. Sometimes the book's not right. Sometimes you've got to stand on the book to reach other things. But always try and do things by the book, you know, and that's the easiest way of doing it. Contractors, these are the ones that are under the main PC. So when we look at them, they don't realise that they've got duties. They think, "Oh, why am I just come here to go to work, mate?" You know what I mean? Well, they have got duties, unfortunately, and sometimes they need to be aware of it. So if you look on here, it says, look, provide information and instruction. Why? Because that goes in the health and safety part, right? This one they don't understand. Prevent unauthorised access to site. It's their job. You wouldn't think it's their job, would you? But it's also the PC's job. And why they'd come into it, because if you're ever a site manager, what will happen to you is the ground workers, sorry to you ground workers, will take down all your site fencing and stack them in a heap while they do something all around the perimeter, and then they'll fuck off home. Right? He'll buck off home and leave you there with all this open site. It looks like a wilderness. And suddenly you've got to find some labourers and get it all put back up again. It is their job. Straight away. You can see it. It's also their job to provide welfare facilities if they're not already provided by the PC. It's also their job to provide a site induction if they're not already provided by the PC. They've got duties. And this is what they're not aware of. They're not aware of their duties. Have you come across this yourself? No? You're not come across it? What your contractors coming on sites? It's not my job, mate.
Yeah, all the time. All the time.
All the time.
Everything.
Right? And this is why sometimes it might be worth you downloading that book, print it out and say, yeah, take that home with you.
Yeah.
Right? Because you can see, right, comply with the construction phase plan straight away. Right? Comply with directions given by the principal designer and principal contractor. Right? Appoint workers who have or in the process of obtaining the necessary skills, knowledge, training, and experience. It's written in CDM to protect you. Because you are PC. You're that one. Right? They are the ones underneath you. Right? When they're swinging off the scaffolding, they're breaking health and safety law that they can be fined for. But they can also get you fined. Same principle as if you're driving in a car and one of your passengers isn't wearing a seatbelt, you can get fined for them not complying. Same thing. You know what I mean? And it's the same thing in health and safety. But they need to comply. And one of the things that they don't really understand is provide a site induction. They have to do that if it's not provided by the PC. Provide information, instruction and training. Prevent unauthorised access. These are the things they have to do for you. Right? As I say, these books are available on the CLTV website. They are there for you. So they are sometimes helpful. They're sometimes not, but they're quite good. Health and safety file. This is what we're talking about. This slide becomes a little bit ambiguous, right? Because this is a health and safety file. There's two types of health and safety file on a site, aren't there? There's one that we give to the client, and there's one that we work with, right? The one that we work with, this I'm going to change this and put this construction health and safety file, or site health and safety file. There it is there, the site health and safety file. Why? It has to be produced, and it's about a safe place to work, good order and site security. Right? It is a criminal offence not to make sure that the site is secured. Right? You've got to have emergency procedures in place, routes and accesses, right? Prevent fire and flooding and explosion, protect excavations, scaffolding, energy distribution, prevention of drowning if you've got anything like that. One of our site drawings covers a lake and a pond, and you will have to protect it as well, for sure. But it's all part and parcel of it. So this is the safe health and safety file. And we have it all the time on site, and we work to it all the time, right? That's not the health and safety file we was talking about that we give to the client, right? We've got the two files. This is the site one. This is how we manage the site. Pre-construction information, we mentioned it earlier, it's got to be relevant to the project. You have got to have the appropriate level of detail. It's got to be proportionate given the health and safety risk involved on the project. We need to know what's going on and where it is and where it's come from. Right, you are straining a little bit. I need to wake you up. I'm going to send you the tea in a second so I can get you back and wake you up for the last hour or so. Yeah, I don't like that, Oz, but you can see you're straining. It's Sunday afternoon. I understand it. Don't worry. There's no football on the day, is there? No, right.
I'm going to watch Tottenham playing.
People watch football. They watch fucking everything. They watch snails race half the time. People watch sport, right? So construction phase, health and safety plan. You can get a copy of what's required in it. Because one of the questions in your XA6 says, what is in the construction health and safety file? Construction phase, health and safety plan. It is one of the questions in your XA6. Oh, grab it. Oh, fuck it. Oh, lost me.
Done it.
Right? But it's there, right? What is the pre-construction information? It's there. It tells you. It is one of the questions, right? And this is why I said to you, you should be working through, okay, as we're talking today, and hopefully just filling in little bits. Because it just saves you some time. Then you can go on the beer in the week and watch football in the week instead as well. Right? See, so obviously it's got to have the description of the project, the management of the work, how you're going to do it, arrangements controlling significant risk, site security, site rules. You will need some site rules later on when you do your project. Oz has mentioned it already. Welfare facilities, products, production and approval of risk assessments and safe system of work documents, fire and emergency procedures is all got to be in there. Access and egress services, prevention of falls, work on or near fragile materials, right? Work on wells, underground caverns, confined spaces, work involved in diving, any residual risks that you're going to leave there, any residual risks there are on the site, right? It's all massively important. Health and safety part. This is the one that we're talking about we give to the client, right? So some of the things that you're going to be questioning on this, right? You should be making notes, taking pretty pictures, whatever you're doing. With no excuses. Oh, I can't open it. Right, so description of the work, residual risk, what's left, information, where you needed the sighted crane, why the crane was that size, what underground services are left there, whether there's caverns or soft ground where you can't drive across, or there's restrictions, because certain areas could be, you might have a basement and you can't drive, or you might have soak pits in there and you can't drive cranes across them. Why? Because the lids won't take it. They just literally wouldn't take it. And that's the sort of thing that you need to be in that health and safety part, because it's where you fit it. They might have said, we'll put it there. You might have dug out with a soak pit and it's all clay. But then you might have come into the ground 3 meters away and it's all stone. So you're going to move it 3 meters. There's no point in it being in the clay, right? Because it ain't going to do its job, right? So you might have just moved it across a little bit, but it needs to be on that drawing. It needs to be in that health and safety part that gets handed to the client. So I should really put client in brackets there, so it gives you a little bit more. Induction. Oh, nothing to that. Right, I'm going to now stop you. I'm going to send you for tea for 15 minutes. Contract number. You see there's a second section of it, because each induction should be a little bit bespoke to whoever we're dealing with, aren't it? Obviously. So inductions are important, and I'm just going to show you one. I'll show you the short CITV film. All right, so you can see what you should be giving or what you should be receiving when you're on site. So if you can't hear it or see it, give me a shout and I'll stop and I'll start again. Construction is an exciting industry. It is constantly changing to project.
Can't hear it.
Yeah,
sound. Barely any sound.
Hang on. Right, so stop. It's all right. So. Great.
That's that.
It just wants to just play me up today. There we go. Share it off. Right. Okay. Construction is an exciting industry. It is constantly changing as projects move on and jobs get done. As a result of this, a construction site is one of the most dangerous environments to work in. But many accidents that occur on site can be avoided. So in this film, find out what the site must do and what you must do to stay healthy and safe at work. When you arrive for your first day on a site, it won't be the first day for everyone. Before any work begins, the site management team will have been planning and preparing the site for your arrival. It is their job to ensure that you can do your job safely and efficiently. So what are 5 key things the site should do for you? When you arrive,
You should be greeted and welcomed by someone on site. And if you're not, then make your presence known to site management. You need to know who is in charge, and they need to know who is working on or visiting their site. You may be asked to sign in or report to someone in charge when you arrive. You should also let someone know or sign out if you're leaving. Once you've introduced yourself, you will be given a site induction. This is a legal requirement to give you basic information so that you can work safely on site. You may be asked to watch a video or look at a presentation. It is important that you understand what is said during the induction. If there's something you're not sure about, don't be afraid to ask for more information. If you have not been to the site for a while, you need to be sure that you're up to date. Check with site management whether you need a briefing or a further induction. Whether you're just starting out or have decades of experience, every job is different. So it's very important that the site induction is specific to your site. You should be told about any specific areas of danger and what site rules are in place to control these. You will be told who the managers are on site and what arrangements are in place for emergencies. You will also find out what to do if there is a fire or if you need to sound an alarm. It may sound basic, but there must be good welfare facilities. You must also be able to take a break somewhere that is warm and dry. Evidence shows that there are fewer incidents and accidents on sites where the workers are actively involved in health and safety. Your opinions and ideas are important, so make them heard. Whatever the size of your site, there should be many opportunities to do this. For example, directly with managers through a daily briefing or through suggestion boxes. Managers should let you know how best to do this on your site. Construction sites are constantly changing, and unplanned activities can be a major cause of accidents. The more up to date you are about what's happening on site, the more you can understand the dangers. The best sites keep their people informed on daily activities. Is there a hazards board on your site? Is it regularly updated? Your site management must be telling you what's going on a regular basis. So, to recap, your site must know when you are on site, give you a site induction, give you site-specific information, encourage communication, and keep you up to date. Your site should be doing all it can to keep you and your colleagues safe. If it isn't, say something and work together to make it better. Site management will have planned ahead to make work on site as safe as possible for you. But once the work begins, it's up to every individual to take responsibility for carrying out the plan safely. This means following the guidelines set out, but also means being alert to the continuing changes on site. So what will the site expect from you? Site rules are there to minimise the risk of particularly hazardous activities, such as moving vehicles and handling flammable substances. Moving traffic on site is a major cause of accidents, so often rules will cover issues like how to walk through the site, where to park, and how to behave when you see a moving vehicle. They will also tell you things like where you can smoke, and remind you to tidy equipment away when it is not in use. These may feel restrictive, but they've been put in place for a reason. If that reason is not clear to you, ask for more information. Otherwise, follow the rules to stay safe. Every task carried out on a site is unique and will have its own dangers, for instance, working at height or manual handling. The site management team will put in place a plan to avoid or minimise the danger before the start of work. The plan may be written down in a risk assessment, a method statement, or a task sheet. This will tell you what to do, the skills needed, what to wear, what tools to use, and what the dangers are. You should contribute to the planning process using your experience and knowledge. For example, before working at height, which is a high-risk activity, you must consider: is the access suitable for what you need to do? Do you have the right tools? Do you have the right protective equipment? Does it fit? And is it comfortable? Once you're at work, you must apply your training, skills, and common sense to your tasks at all times. For example, if you're building a wall, you may have to move heavy loads, but you must not put your health and body in danger to do this. Make sure you move the load as safely as possible, as you will have been trained to do. And if you're not sure how to, then you must ask for advice. Equally, it is important to be aware of the dangers to those around you. For example, if someone working with you is not wearing the correct protective equipment for a certain activity, tell them so. Acting responsibly will benefit both you and your colleagues. In our industry, saying no is not easy. We are fixers and doers. We can do. However, a significant number of accidents on sites happen when people are doing things that they are not comfortable with. For example, many workers have been harmed by not knowing how to identify asbestos. If you think there's any likelihood that there may be asbestos present where you are working, you must stop work and seek advice. If you're not properly trained, equipped, or briefed, or if the situation around you changes, the result could be an accident. Trust your instinct. If things feel beyond your control or dangerous, or if you see someone else working unsafely, stop the work immediately and inform site management why you have done so. You might prevent an injury or save a life. Your employer should be supportive if you do this, because you have the right to say no and a responsibility to not walk by. If your job requires you to have specific training to enable you to do it safely, then it is your employer's responsibility to provide it. But to really get the best out of your career, you should keep learning about developments in machinery, equipment, regulations, and training. This will not only give you greater confidence and understanding, but will also ensure you remain healthy and safe. Open up my window again. So, to recap, you must respect site rules, safely prepare each task, do each task responsibly, know when to stop, and keep learning. Construction is so much more than bricks and mortar. The work we do improves the world around us. It's time for us to work together to build a safer and better industry.
Would absolutely be disgusted. Right, but yes, look at that. Have you ever seen a trench like that? And they will say yes.
I haven't.
Never seen that.
Not that bad, generally. Not that bad, but it's generally bad. But you can see that H3 is below the water.
Yeah.
Right, it's below the water. The BT is below the H3, by the look of it. Right, so yeah, it's and you can see. Can you see any sand in there at all?
No, that's exactly what I was looking for. There's
They
no
must
sand.
have had a sand hoover. They must have had a sand hoover. They must have removed all the tapes, all the marking tapes. They've removed all the clay tiles that lay over the HV. There's nothing, absolutely nothing. Right, so yeah, but we'll cover that one later. But you can see.
Depends on what company you work for. That's all it does.
Unfortunately,
some companies are bish bash bosh. Some companies are do it properly. Take your time with it. Some companies is we've got a month, mate. Smash it out, bang, 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 backfill, backfill, backfill.
Yeah, but this is the problem. This is what you're dealing with.
But the thing is, in this day and age with QA, you never get this.
You're never going to get that. You can't anything in that. You can't. Yeah, no, this is this day and age, but you do see that quite often because you got to remember it's been put in a long time ago.
Yeah.
Right, and this is the sad bit of it. Right, it's been put in a long time ago. The last job I was up on, and basically they couldn't get any of the BT mains working because they were all the old terracotta pipes, clay pipes. And they'd all collapsed, and all the tree roots had gone through them, and everything else. And basically, we had to have new BT mains all the way up to it. And then suddenly, someone else has jammed something else, an electrical cable into the BT duct to get up and through up to up where we're on up the line. And you think, fucking hell, what are you doing? This is like mental. How could you do this? You know what I mean? But they did.
And is the use of duct a new thing, or?
Duct? No, they've been around since, cool, I don't know.
Like in that picture, I didn't see any ducts there.
There is.
Yeah, they're all ducts. They're all ducts.
Oh, were they? I thought they were
just
all
ducts.
naked.
Yeah, they're all ducts. They're apart from the blue one and the red one.
Yeah, blue one, yeah, I thought.
The blue one and the red one.
You don't put ducts on water.
Right. Yeah, they're not the feathered ducts, but they're all ducts. The blue and the red one. The blue one was actually a pipe, and the red one was actually a main. Right, but all the rest of it was ducts of some sort.
Oh,
right. So, but yeah, ducts. They've been using them for years and years, but you can't identify them. And when you turn around and said the easiest way to identify, you would not. If I go back to that picture, share that picture again with you.
Yeah.
Right, and you use the Cat and Jenny on there. Tell me which one. Could you identify this grey one here?
Them Cat and Jennies pick up anything, mate. They pick up your
Can you come on? Rubbish. You know that as well. You know how? Yeah, they pick up your steel toe cap in your boot a lot of the time.
They're rubbish.
Yeah. Right. So
that's not powerful.
Right. You wouldn't pick this grey one up. You wouldn't pick these green ones up, and you wouldn't pick these grey ones up down there. They are crap most of the time. Right. Most of the time. I'm not saying they're not. They are good. They are good. But unless you get the Jenny on it, it's like this blue one. You wouldn't identify this blue one unless there's a trace of one over there.
Yeah.
So, it's only as good as what this is why the trial was important. But if they've done the services like they're supposed to here at these levels, you wouldn't be having this discussion. You wouldn't be having this discussion. And there's another slide on. There's another slide on it. You see there. You can see there's a marker tape. It's really poor, and they picked him up when they flashed him. Right, but you can see it's really poor. But there is a marker tape, and it's a sandy coloured soil, so it's hard to tell. But I suspect there's something there of some sort. That looks like a blue water main going the other way, possibly. Don't know. It's not a greatest of pictures. You know what I mean? But that you can identify them, and these are obviously markers. We cover this in excavations later anyway. But so let's get back onto where we are. Let's get back onto what we're doing. Right, so talking about things like that, when we're talking about bad services and bad installations and bad what we do, we're talking about health and safety cultures. And when we're talking about health and safety cultures, we've mentioned it a few times throughout the days, right? And SCAPE was one of them that I keep bringing in. The Citb loses the A, which is the aptitude and the attitude. Right, but this is a health and safety culture. This is what we do. This is how people behave on site. So we look at the 4 C's. There is actually a 5th one, but any ideas what the 5th one was?
Sorry?
Any idea what the 5th one would be? They call it the 4. Let's leave it anyway. But anyway, so I don't want to confuse you anymore. So, right, competence. When we look at competence, we look at SCAPE. Right, so which is the skills, knowledge, attitude, training, and experience. Right, when we look at control measures, supervision, right? Supervision, instruction and training, monitoring, enforcement. Do you all do red card, yellow card?
Yeah.
Yeah, you all do that. Yeah, it's become sort of standard now. That's come across from the tier 1 contractors. They've introduced it, and basically you get a yellow card, and if you don't like it, you're going to get the red card. You know what I mean? It's as easy as that. You know, hopefully as site managers, you'll never throw anyone off site. I've only, in my 20 odd years of doing it, I think I've only thrown 2 off, you know, and it's one because he come back a bit half pissed, and I can't think what the other one was. I think the other one was a Sparky. He wanted to get a bit on road with me and play little cuddly lessons. So we sent him on his way. But so yeah, it's about controlling them, of course, and then communication. There's lots of ways we can communicate. Right? Telephone, posters, DVDs, notices, toolbox talks.
We do DABs.
Yeah, go on. Explain more. Tell more.
DABs, daily briefing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So meetings, but you can have too many meetings as well. And this is what a lot of the contractors don't like. Is you get
no, this is not a meeting. DABs is we do it every day, and it's literally just about what you do tomorrow.
Yeah.
And then he gives us paperwork to the next day, saying that he told his workers, each subby, where the other subbies are going to be working.
Yeah, you see, and they call them DABs, right?
Yeah.
And that's what his company does. You see, that's a company procedure, right? See, so but I learned something from him. You know what I mean? And we scratch each other each ways, right? But they do it that way. It's called them daily briefings, right? Daily briefings, daily rundowns. They call them DABs. There's lots of other people call it lots of different things. But you can have too many meetings, and you can have a meeting about the amount of meetings you're having. Right, see, so you can get lost in communication. There's too much, you can give them overload, and suddenly it can be too much. How much do your DABs, how long do they take?
They take about half an hour.
Yeah.
And then we tell each subbies. But then, so lately, I bet, so you know the red card you mentioned?
Yeah.
So we give areas to people and walkways. And then, obviously, for all the site manager, if you see a person that's not supposed to be in that area, he gets a yellow card.
Yeah.
Yeah, and control the work that way.
Yeah, which means you're policing it quite strongly. Yeah, quite strongly, but then it's, what's your accident sort of rates in there?
I'll be honest with you, so in the last, in my last 5 years, we had 1 accident.
Yeah, good, that's really good, yeah.
Yeah, 1 accident.
Reportable, you mean? Yeah.
A reportable accident, 1.
Yeah, 1 reportable, yeah.
Yeah.
Right. It's obviously it's good. It's massively good. In the 20 years that I've been doing it, I've never done a reportable before.
Well done, mate.
Yeah. Right. See, so it's about. I'm not saying that I haven't had an incident when a guy come down off the ladder. He come down off the ladder. He's still on the brick. Bit of a twist of his ankle a bit, and I said to him, "You all right?" He said, "Yeah." He said, "It's ankle a bit," and he was off for a couple of days. But then he never came back to my site. He went to another site, so he was, But that was about. It could have been a reportable one because he could have been off for 7 days because he didn't come back to my site. I don't know, but then I spoke to his foreman. But that's about the seriousness, and it was because it was untidy because the bricklayers had chucked all the shit off the scaffold, and he's standing on his own shit at the bottom of the ladder. You know what I mean? It's instead of cleaning it up, but So, how do we communicate? Posters, DVD notices, things like that. Toolbox talks. Toolbox was a great one as well. Do any of you give toolbox talks?
Subbies have to give it to us every week.
Yeah. Right,
we give them the title.
You give them the list. You give them the list.
Yeah.
Right. Is that what you're saying? And they give you a completed sheet. Yeah?
That's it.
And what they generally do is walk around with that sheet. So it's on that.
No. What we do is every DABs every morning, each one of them are. So we have package managers.
Yeah.
So they do it before they start work, and our that package manager for that subby has to be there, just to watch.
Yeah. Just to watch, just to sit in it. If you look at that site induction, when Matey said to him, "Come in for the site induction," he sat in with them. Did you see that? He sat in with them in the video.
Yeah.
Right. He sat in the video. Did you notice when he actually signed in? He was the only person signing in that brand new folder I noticed it as well. He's the only name going in that site induction folder. The only person who's ever been inducted, right? And I thought, oh, that's another thing. I did notice the sign as well. No spitting. I like
that one, especially now.
Yeah, I like that one because they do come out. I get complaints from neighbours. They say you'll come out, your guys come out and all spitting and coughing dust and spitting all over the place.
They give red cards now for spitting
because of COVID.
It's red cards, mate.
Yeah, it's nice. It's nice. It was nice to see it up there. No spitting. You know what I mean? And you see there was a few builders there: Wilmot Dixon, Barrett Holmes, McLean's was it, or McAlpine's, one of them. But you know, it was a few. So corporation, how do we do it? We do safety reps, safety committees, team meetings, which is the same as these DABs. This is how we improve health and safety. And why are we trying to improve it? So everybody benefits. So everybody goes home in the same condition as when they came there. Right? Human factors. So you like that one? Look at this one there. Human factors, and it's a real nice little acronym. That crap. Right? Why is human factors crap? Because it's generally they've got either poor competence or good competence. Their risk perception, either they're gun ho or they're safety cautious. Their aptitude or attitude, it's about how they do things, or whether their age level, whether they understand it, or their personality. You say, oh, I've always done it like that all the time, right? And that's why they've got the acronym of crap. But you know, it is a good acronym, and obviously any of these will affect the health and safety culture on site. Job factors. This is another one, right? So procedures. It could be too complex, no training. Too much pressure, you'll be under the cosh all the time, right? It could be workload, it could be piecework, that you're keeping up with a machine, right? Controls and displays, right? It could be you're a machine driver and you get in there, it's got an open cab and it's in the middle of winter, or you can't see out the window, right? Or you can't see behind you, or you've got no banksman present, or it could be lots of things. The controls are too tight, it's uncontrollable. If you've ever driven one of them Manitou forklifts, it's probably the most horrible forklift you could ever drive. And then you get in there and you think, Jesus, what a horrible machine, you know. But you jump in a Merlot or a JCB and you think, oh, what a pleasure this is to drive, you know. And it's just simple things with the sea, right? The environment, it could be too hot, too noisy, too damp, too wet, too cold. There's lots of things you can put up. You guys worked all the way through the summer. Do you remember that summer when that big yellow thing was out? And people moaning about it, how hot it was, right? And how uncomfortable it was. And, you know, and lots of complaints about the heat in the summer when it was warm. You remember them months ago? Months ago?
We had to stop. A few times we had to stop. Any external works stops.
Yeah. And because it was warm, but then it wasn't excessively warm. But it is when you're up on a scaffold, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 lifts up in the air, it's exceptionally hot. And when you're up there and it's cold, it's really cold up on a scaffold. You know, sometimes you got to build with them bricklayers or chippies or whoever's up there. You know what I mean? Because it can be really cold. And the demands, if it's too high, it can be really stressful for you. If it's too low, it can be really stressful for you because you're kicking your heels. You hate the job. So if you're full on, you're under pressure, you're under the cosh. If you ain't doing nothing, you hate the job. You don't want to be there. These are all sort of job factors that the management should look after you and say, we need to put in these control measures to make sure it's right. Right? And this is all everything that sort of affects us as we go on. But then we look at the company, like the organisation factors, and we look at them as COGS. And you should all know what a COG is, right? You know what a COG is, you're all old enough to know that COGs were a big thing in the 70s, COGs, generally religious matters. But anyway, it's the culture, unrealistic demands, the leadership, right? The training, the supervision. Sometimes we can build, like, it could be a culture, it's pressure, push. As you say, like Amazon, push. We need to get this done for the year. Unrealistic demands. It's really putting loads of pressure on you. Loads of stuff. Sometimes you wake up 2, 3 o'clock in the morning and think, oh, fuck another job. I've got to do this tomorrow. You know, why? Because that's where we don't want to be. That's where we don't want to be. And that's not what we want as site managers. right? The leadership, you get no leadership, you get no control. Your guys at the top, the contracts manager just comes in, he goes rah 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 rah, and then goes home again. You know what I mean? And it's all right for him. He says, "Oh, it only takes 15 minutes to get." Yeah, it does only take 15 minutes at 11 o'clock in the morning. Try it at 7 o'clock in the morning or 6 o'clock in the morning in rush hour, and it takes an hour and a half. You know, and it's you know, and that's the thing with contracts managers. That's the way they behave. Training and supervision, right? So they could be inappropriate with the training, not giving you enough training so you can do your job. A lot of the big companies don't like to give any training out. They just think is it costly? It's eaten into their budget. But sometimes we need training. Sometimes we need support. You know, all you guys here are paying for it yourself, because if not, you'd be doing it during the week, right? And this is the thing that comes with it, right? If any of your companies was paying this, you'd be asking for the levy number, and you'd be doing it during the week in their time. And you're not, you're doing it on the weekend, which is the income dividends for that. Supervision. Sometimes we don't get any supervision. Have you never ever, right, as a site manager, you generally go, here's the keys, here's your drawings, here's the address, here's the postcode. See you in 6 months, or see you in a year, whatever. That's generally what they give you. And sometimes you don't, because you're too far away, you won't even see a contracts manager. Sometimes because you're too far away, the directors will never come there at all. Full stop. So it's about support. It's about supporting you as much as you support them. You've got to make sure the people underneath you, it's like when you've got labourers, you've got to make sure they've got the right training. Don't treat them as you're being treated yourself. You give them the support. Don't put unrealistic demands on them, right? Give them some training. Let them make some of their own decisions, because when they make some of their own decisions, they generally might make some mistakes, but they might do some right things right for you. And just make sure you supervise them, and just make sure, go around and nod and just say, yeah, you made a nice job over there, thanks for that. You know what I mean? Even just the labourers need a pat on the back sometimes. You know what I mean? We're all there. We all need that little nursing. You know what I mean? We all need that little coercion. You lot are very needy. Right, you've been very needy to me all the time, right? And you want me to stroke your egos with you all the time. Right, we mentioned with permit to works, right? This is one of the things that really comes into its own with you, right? And I said to you, we cover it, right? So we're moving on into permit to work because we're sort of wrapping up today's, right? If you look at this slide, some of you will know it, some of you won't know it. And this is why permits to works are so important. This is all still to do with organisational factors, all about control, right? It's all about control of what you do in your daily life at work. So, are you there, Nosh? You're falling asleep. Yeah. Is it football on the phone, is it? Right, okay. Eyes in the back of my head, I can see all of you all the time, boys. Even when you're in them little rings, I can still see you. I mean, say, I know exactly who's participating and who's not. So, but anyway, right.
It's not positive.
Huh? The first one up there, you can see is King's Cross Tube Station. Anybody ever heard of it?
Was that when there was a fire?
Yeah, it's when there was a fire. Right, this is 2 years. 2 years. We're picking on these 2 years because it seems to like every disaster you can imagine has happened in the UK or England. I will actually not even include the whole of the UK. I'll just go for England on this one. Right. So, but anyway, right. The first one up there is King's Cross. Right. So in 1987, it was a fire. It started at the underground station in London. Right. 31 people died. It was a discarded cigarette. It set fire to the grease and rubbish underneath one of the escalators. Organisational changes have resulted in poor escalator cleaning and maintenance. The fire took hold because of the wooden escalator, the failure of the water fog equipment, and inadequate fire and emergency training of staff. Poor health and safety culture. Right? There was a culture that viewed fires as inevitable. They were gonna happen. Right? Because it's how it's going to happen. It's going to happen. It's just a question of when. But that don't help the 31 people who died. Right? So that's the first one. If you come down to this one down here, where everyone's deciding to stand on the roof of the train, that's Clapham Junction. Right, so transport sector, 1988, 35 people died, 500 were injured in a triple train crash. The long and short of it was an electrician had disconnected the wire, which was supposedly dead. Right, he disconnected the wire and he didn't put it into a connection of any sort. So he left it loose in the box. As the trains were going by, the vibration and the wind and the rattling, it moved across and it flashed across a point which sent 3 signals to go. With 3 trains all collided with one another and hit each other. 3 trains derailed, 500 people injured, 35 dead. Right, now, they said there was problems with training, testing, quality, communication, standards and poor supervision. Right, because you can imagine they're working out in these little boxes on the side of the train tracks. Right, it's very cold, it's very windy. If you're going to work for any of the railway companies, it's not the most pleasant environment at all. Right, lessons had not been learned from past incidents, and there was no effective system of monitoring or limiting excessive working hours. People were doing 18-hour shifts and things like that. Right, easy mistake, poor control measures. Right, next one up here. Do you know what this one is?
Power station. I mean, yeah.
It's what?
It's petroleum power station. I mean, petrol.
Oil station, yeah.
Oil station, yeah. Really?
I thought you were going to. Have you ever seen the film Deepwater Horizon?
Which one? Who's that acting in it?
Mark Wahlberg.
Yes, I've seen it. Good film.
Yeah, right. How many people died in it?
He survived.
Yeah, he did survive. But how many died in it? 12, was it?
I can't remember.
Right, 12 people died, something like that. I think it was 11 or 12 people died in Deepwater Horizon. This is a different one. This is off the Scottish coast. This is Piper Alpha. This is 1988. 167 workers died in the North Sea after a major explosion and fire on an offshore platform. Right, formal inquiry found a number of technical and organisational failures. This is the real permit work on this one. Right, so what happened? They've taken a gas valve out. Right, mate, he said, I need to work on that gas valve because it's not operational, it's not working properly, so I'm going to take it out. He takes it out, the solenoid's not working, he just takes it out, he shut it off, gets the permit to work, it's all signed up, it's put in this little chart thing, locked away. He's taking the gas valve out and he's taking it down and he's working on it. He's working on it and he can't finish it, so he changes shifts. Right, now if you're looking at this rig here, the bar is here and above it is the accommodation box. Right, above it is the accommodation blocks. They get paid really good money for what they do, big money, right? But they work in a shit environment. Right, so what's happened is he's taken the gas valve out. The shift changeovers come on, and went right. He said, "Yeah." He said, "Anything? No communications. They've just gone straight on to the next shift. The new shift manager's there." And he's failed him and said, "We need to pump gas." Right? And he says, "Well, it's shut off." He said, "Well, do you think he's fixed it?" He said, "Yeah, he wouldn't have gone, he wouldn't have left it." So, "Yeah, it's probably fixed." "Yeah, open it up." Opened it up, they start pumping the gas. The gas is all circulated underneath the accommodation block. It's not straight away, it's within a certain time. Mate's gone to bed, do you know what I mean? It's all circulated under the accommodation block. It's ignited, a spark. Right, a spark's ignited it and it's lit the thing up. This is pre-mobile phones. This is 88. Right, the other 2 rigs are watching that thing burn, and they are feeder rigs. So they feed into that rig in the centre, and that rig in the centre pumps at the shore. So they pump the gas into that centre rig and they're sending it on, and they carry on feeding the gas into it, burning them 167 people alive. Watching it, saying, "Shit, it's on fire, look at it." Who's got a camera? Yeah. This is all because the permit of work which was still open, right? Which was no one was authorised to pump gas in, and they ignored it and carried on pumping the gas. Poor procedural rate. Poor procedural things. So, at the end of the day, it was there to protect them, and they ignored it. 167 people died. It's a tragedy, absolute tragedy. The last one, this is Idiot Week, right? The last one, anyone know the last one?
Titanic.
It's not, mate. This is Idiot Week, really is, right? This is the Herald of Free Enterprise. She's a Zeebrugge ferry, and she's a ro-ro ferry. And what a ro-ro ferry means is basically she leaves port in wherever it was. I don't know. It's probably Dover to Zeebrugge or whatever it is. And she rows over. So she comes in. She opens her bow doors. She discharges her cargo for 2 hours. For the next 2 hours, she loads a new cargo. She shuts her bow doors and she sets sail again. Right, depending on what she is, she could be on the Dover to Calais one. It's 2 hours, 2 hour turnaround. On the Portsmouth to Le Havre one, it's a 12 hours. So she docks for 2, reloads for 2, and then it's 12 hours back. Right, so but that's how it works. Right, so she's a ro-ro, so she don't ever stop. Her engines carry on running all the time she's there. So she's opened it up, she's loaded, she's offloaded, she's reloaded. Mate, who's the deck manager, if you like, he's in charge. He's gone to bed because he's just done an 18-hour shift. He's gone to bed, all right? He's missed the call to say we're sailing because they comes over sailing in 10 minutes. You know what I mean? Comes over the tannoy. He's missed that. He's fast asleep. All right, fast asleep. They've let go of the boats, let go of all the ropes. Set sail. No one shut the front door. No one has shut the front door. The water fills up. The water fills up. She's not even got out of port. She starts to take on water. She starts to list and she rolls over. 189 passengers and crew died. Just because someone didn't say shut the door. Right? The captain, there was no signal. Remember, this is 87. There's no signal between once the door shuts and it's sending a little light up to the captain. They said basically there was, after the formal inquiry in the report, the company was infected with disease and sloppiness. This was Townsend Torreson, but it was bought at the time by P&O. Right? Commercial pressures and friction between ship and shore management had led to safety lessons not being learned, and they still haven't learned it. It was only last year that P&O sacked all their employees, and there was no ships running on the Northern Ireland route or the France route. They still haven't learned. Right? And 189 people died that day in shallow waters. And you probably just got on there and you was up there with your kids, up there in the, like, oh, we'll be sailing in a minute, because you're all excited and you're going across, you're just coming back off of holiday, you just got the car on, you lost your car, you lost your luggage, you lost your wife, you lost your husband, you lost your kids. Someone didn't shut the door. Absolutely mental. But this is where we talk about sloppy cultures, right? And this is where it goes wrong. And when it goes wrong, it costs us dearly, right? And it's not good. Not good at all. So when we look at permit to works, we have them for all kinds of things: hot work permits, dust and fume, noise and vibration, work at height, confined spaces, protection of the public, use of plant sometimes, loan working. There's all kinds of permits we have, machine guarding, loading, unloading. We can have them for anything, really. They're the type of activities. If you look in your book, it's in book A, it's page 76 of the Citb book. It will give you some more of what we do. When we talk about permits to work and things like that, we need to make sure that the culture and what we're doing is right. And the best way of doing this is health and safety inspections. Do you all have health and safety inspections on sites?
Yep.
Yeah.
Sometime.
Weekly, daily, monthly. What is it?
Monthly.
Monthly.
Every 2 weeks.
Every 2 weeks.
Every 2 weeks. Yeah. Okay. So mine used to be monthly. Right. Mine used to be monthly. It depends on what you get. This is one of your forms, GA15. So there's nothing stopping you from doing it yourself, right? And you can walk around, you can download, you can print this one off, you can fill it in yourself, and it's just a health and safety and environmental inspection report, right? You can do it yourself, right? And you just got to cover the areas and make sure it's the tick box one, right? Tick box ones are not so great, but it's making sure that you're doing what you're doing right. You might, and they say, you might get an health and safety inspection come after you and say, "You let me get ready." So, well, I don't see any problem with that because remember what we said about perception and risk. What you consider to be a safe environment, other people might not consider so safe. What we was talking about when you were saying like that's certain death on that height, and I'm going, well, it's So you got to look a little bit barely sometimes and say. Yes, what we do, or not what we do, right? And that's how you can do it yourself, right? So you can do that. It's in there, a health and safety and environmental report. So you can do your own inspections, and it's really easy to do. And it's a walk around. It's just make sure that you're covering and doing whatever you want right. When do we do them? This is the next one. So when we got plant or excavations, it's daily before use. Scaffolding should always be before use, right? So when we look at any scaffolding, again, this is in your books. I think it's page 167. I think it is G700, right? I think I wouldn't swear to it. I think it's page 167. Right. When you're looking at excavations or scaffolding, we would do them pre-daily. Machines are pre-daily. Cranes, plant, you're always going to get a pre-user check on it. Anything like that, working at height, user check always. Right, you're just going to make sure that nothing's happened overnight. Like what Nosh was saying earlier about all the ground coming out from underneath the scaffold. The trouble was, once the weight started to sink it made it collapse because it got washed out because they used the wrong type of aggregates when they were doing the land. Right, so then weekly. So if you're looking at, let's pick a forklift. Let's look at that one because this is one of the ones that you're going to come across quite a lot. So you've got the forklift driver. He would do pre-user daily checks always. Right, your plant operators should do it as well. And then once a week they would do a full check, extend the boom right out, make sure everything goes, do everything that should be done on it. Right, because believe it or not, one of the questions you will get, right, one of the questions you'll get in your exam is how to prevent accidents between pedestrians and vehicles, and what would you say on that? What would be
separate them?
Huh?
One-way system.
Yeah. Apart from separate them, I'm talking about here inspection.
One-way system.
Yeah, one-way system.
Minimize reversing.
Yeah, man, look at that. He knows that one, right? See, look, right. But, and also another answer, I'm going to go for another answer here, is maintenance and inspection. Why? Because if your windows and mirrors, I know you said wind mirrors, right? If your windows and mirrors are dirty, you've got more chance of hitting people. If your reversing alarm and your yellow light is not working, you've got more chance of hitting people, right? If your CCTV is blocked or covered in mud and shit, which you're reversing CCTV, you've got more chance of hitting people. So it's good maintenance. It's another way of protecting the people around you. Barriers are good. Inspections are good. Maintenance is good. One-way systems is good. They're all good, but you need competent operators. That's another one as well you want. All good, because they're the people that should be doing the user checks anyway. What else have we got to go? On there, you can look, you see firefighting places. I'll cover that in the firefighting. I don't want to really cover it too much in this. I just want to keep with, or I don't want to cover scaffolding. I'll just stick with the certain things that we're going to cover on this, on the daily pre-user check. But this is there for you. If you need it, Right, it's in your books. It's only a guide. You can do it twice a week. It doesn't matter. It's a guide. You can always go over and above, right? So don't forget, do it yourself. Inspections are good. Audits are good. You know, so if you're looking for this and you're inspecting, what you're doing is you're stopping unsafe conditions happening, right? Means you're stopping near misses and you're stopping accidents. Right? There was a guy called Bird. He done this lovely little triangle. It's called a Bird's triangle. Right? And he didn't do. Right? He basically he compiled 1.5 million accident reports and accident ratios in 1966. Right? When he should have been watching the World Cup. Right? But he done it, and you can imagine in 1966 there was not such a thing as a computer, right? And he said basically from that 1.5 million accidents and accident ratios, for every 600 near misses, there'll be 300 property damage, 10 minor injuries, and 1 fatality or serious major injury. That's the kind of ratio he got to, and this is why it's important that we stop the unsafe conditions, which will then prevent the near misses. Because if you're looking at that, if you stack higher than the guardrail, higher than the brick guards, it's got the potential to come over the top. If it's got 99% of the times, it will come over the top and miss whoever it is below. The one time it's going to come across and it's going to hit someone and kill them. Major incident. So for every 600 of them unsafe conditions, you're going to get 30 near misses, you know, or property damages. So, you know, the unsafe conditions, there's another one, it'll bring it in there. So there's 1,000 unsafe accident conditions lead to 600 near misses, next to 30 accidents, 10 serious injuries, 1 death. And that's what Bird done with his 1.5 million reports, pre-computer. You know, you got to, well, if you wrote 1 to 1 million on a piece of paper, it would probably take you close to 10 years. So how he done it, I don't know, but he did. Oh, we're getting to the end of the day, and then when you are unfortunate to have that, you end up with that. Right on. Anyone filled in that report?
I've seen it being filled in.
Yeah. It's done online nowadays. Nowadays. There's certain requirements that we need to know about why we fill in the right form. So, specified injuries. Right? We get certain injuries. Right? When we're looking at this is, let's say, 6 book stuff. Right? So you say, if you're filling it in, because you'll get this totally wrong. The amount of people who put this on the XA6 book wrong, right, is unbelievable. Right? So, specified injury, fracture other than to a finger, thumb, or toe. So, if you fracture your arm, fracture your leg, it's reportable. Right? Amputation of the arm, hand, finger, leg, toe, foot. Right? So if you lose a limb, that's reportable. Right? So if you suddenly do that, reportable incident. Right? Permanent loss of sight, reportable incident. Crush injuries leading to internal organ damage. So that's crushing of the chest, if you like. So, yeah, crushing the scalpings. Right, scalpings, and they're not the type you use in groundworks either. Scalping is losing the top of your head, losing that piece, right? So this is scalping. Unconsciousness caused by head injury or asphyxiation. Right? Any other injury from working in an enclosed or confined space which leads to hypothermia, heat-induced loss, or requires resuscitation and admittance to hospital for more than 24 hours. That's the kind of injury that will be reported under rider. Now, over 7-day injuries, this is where an employee or self-employed person, including self-employed person, is away from work or unable to perform their normal duties for more than 7 consecutive days, not counting the day of the accident. Now, if it happened on a Monday, they'd have to be off for 7 days, which means if Tuesday the following week they weren't in, that's when it would be reported. Yeah? And you've got a set time to report it. Over 3 days, you generally record, but you're not reportable. Okay? Injuries to non-workers. So that's a member of the public or are not work-related or not. So if you're driving a forklift out the site and you run out some little old deer and she's taken away to hospital, for treatment, that is a reportable incident. Right? Because you've injured a member of the public and you've taken them to hospital. Alright, so that's reportable. Because they're not even working for you, but it's reportable. Reportable occupational diseases. This is the ones that you get wrong, right? Carpal tunnel syndrome. Right? Severe cramp of the hand or forearm. Occupational dermatitis. Hand-arm vibration syndrome. Occupational asthma. Remember, it's always, you can't just put asthma, because I suffer with asthma, but it's not occupational asthma. Right? Tendonitis or tendonitis of the hand or forearm. Occupational cancer. Right? It's got to have the occupational in front of it. Right? Any disease attributed to an occupational exposure to a biological element. So that's like anthrax, COPD from mushrooms, baker's lung, mushroom grower's lung, farmer's lung, right? All of them are occupational illnesses and diseases from what they do in the work. Reportable dangerous occurrences, the last one. So remember, so we've done injuries, we've done diseases, and now we're doing dangerous occurrences. Right, so this is projectiles going over the site boundary. Horrible. Don't like that. Projectiles going over the site boundary. That's a reportable one. Plant or equipment coming into contact with overhead power lines. So a mobile crane swinging around, hitting the power lines, reportable. Right? Explosions or fires causing work to be stopped. This is a little crucial element there. Explosions or fires causing work to be stopped for more than 24 hours. How mental is that? Right? You've got a compressed gas cylinder that somebody knocks over, it explodes and catches fire, and we put it out in 23 hours and 59 minutes and it's not reportable. Mental, isn't it? Right. Collapse the scaffold over 5 metres. Structural collapse, which involves more than 5 metric tonnes. So it has to be more than 5 metric tonnes. The scaffold's over 5 metres. So 4.9 metre scaffold and it collapses is non-reportable. 4 tonnes of structural wall come down. It's non-reportable. Mental, isn't it? They do this, but it's to try and limit the amount of reports they get. Any floor or wall or place where work arising from or in connection with ongoing construction, demolition, refurbishment or maintenance or bubble below ground, and any unintentional collapse of false work. There is 27 of them in all, 27 categories of dangerous occurrences. So you won't get generally, the one you're going to need to remember is over 5 metres scaffold, overhead power lines coming in contact with, or the structural collapse of more than 5 tonne. They're the 3 that you're sort of going to be the ones you're going to have to remember. Yeah. So obviously we report them. If you look at there, you see there's different numbers. So each one's got a different number. One's an A, one's a B, 20508, you see, and this is the accident, you see. So that's how we're reporting, that's what we do. G700 XA6, right, let's look at that. That's what we're going to do next week.